So I got a love-hate relationship with this movie. On one hand, I was smiling from end to almost end throughout this movie, especially during the first and third acts. I was really, really enjoying it. So funny. You know what that Deadpool humor is like from the first two films, and just that time in this one. But on the other hand, it was so shallow in so many places that it hurt my experience after I left the theater. So I'm going to talk about how the things that I think really worked with this film and makes it a great time in the theaters, but may not be make it a great movie overall, which is a weird experience to have. And let's start off with Deadpool himself. Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool. Deadpool is Ryan Reynolds. Wade Wilson is Ryan Reynolds. Whatever way you want to say it, he was born to play this character. He proved it in Deadpool 1, he proved it in Deadpool 2, and he continues to prove it in this film, his first foray into the MCU. You know, there's been a lot of hype behind this film. It's the most anticipated film of the year. It's going to be the biggest movie of the year. Definitely going to be Inside Out 2 in terms of box office, critically, and especially audience-wise. The audience is going to end up loving this overall. So I'm a little bit in the minority with some of the things that I had problems with. But Deadpool comes in, he fits right into the MCU with this R rating, and the R rating is a hard R in terms of violence, language, and some of the things that they do. I think some of the visual inappropriateness that will be for like kids that were in the first two Deadpools is kind of calmed down here in terms of the sex stuff, but I feel like this one is way more violent. It's very gory. There's a lot of crazy different kills in this film, and some of the fight scenes are pretty brutal, which was really cool to see in an MCU film. It didn't feel like an MCU film because of that. So that might be for the better or the worse. Like I remember there was a family that was complaining about the film after the film was done, saying that this wasn't for kids. It's like, check for the R rating, guys. So Ryan Reynolds does a great job as Deadpool. He's hilarious. He breaks the fourth wall, maybe even the fifth wall. He does a great job of balancing the tones that he wants to do, because this movie has a bit of a serious tone to it in parts, and just the comedic beats throughout, like almost sketch-like comedic beats throughout. And I really enjoyed his performance as Deadpool and all of the performances he had to do, right? So he wasn't the problem when it came to being funny. One of my main problems with Ryan Reynolds' character in this as Deadpool, as Wade Wilson, is the emotional parts, and that's always been my issue with Deadpool live action. In the comics, I think they do a really good job of finding ways to deepen his character, but I feel like in the movies they don't. And what makes the worst sin of this movie is that this is the third movie of a trilogy, right? And a lot of the stuff, of the character stuff and in his supporting character stuff, is not carried over. It feels like they resetted a lot of things and we didn't see the reason why. There's certain interactions with characters that don't make sense, and his motivations just feel completely different from what we got from Deadpool 1 and 2. So I wasn't fully able to buy into what he was doing in terms of when they tried to do the emotional moments. Really hard for me to buy in when it felt so different from what we already had. On the other side of these things, we got Hugh Jackman back, which was awesome. I had a huge pop when he finally came on the screen. I love that they didn't desecrate the meaning and the meaningfulness of Logan. That movie, you know, like they said, they're gonna keep that sacred, but also found a way to bring him back even more comic accurate with the suit. I popped so hard, like I was at a wrestling event and I heard the glass break and Stone Cold Steve Austin came out. It was just amazing scene, and obviously, you know, from the trailers and promotional material, he puts on the cowl. He has the full suit. When the cowl came on, I almost lost my geeky mind. This is everything that I grew up on. You know, I love the X-Men. I love the animated series. I love the 2000s series. Those comic book movies, some of the best comic book movies of all time, and Hugh Jackman's been a big part of all of them, right? And he slips right back into the character. He does an amazing job with the physicality and the grumpiness of this version of the character, because from the trailers that you see, they're saying this is the worst Wolverine in the multiverse. And that's where another issue comes in from the movie in terms of the plot and the characterization. There's a lot of tell not show, which is one of the biggest sins in cinema to me. Show me what the problem is. Show me how this happened. Don't just keep telling me. And that's all they did with his character. And both Wade and Logan's issues and emotional journeys felt super repetitive throughout the film. It felt like it was a second thought. It was like, oh, we have to have this in here because we can't just joke for 2 hours straight. We have to have some emotional buildup, so when we get to this end and climax, that the audience care about these changes. But unfortunately, I didn't really care, because the thing that they're saying that this Wolverine did that makes him the worst Logan in the multiverse, to me, didn't even feel that bad, right? I don't want to talk about it. This is a non-spoiler review, so I won't even hint to what it was. But I was just like, oh, it's got to be a worse Logan in the multiverse. But this is not even that bad. So his whole thing, when they finally revealed what happened, I was like, oh, this is kind of disappointing. I thought that he went off the rails or something, you know? So that was kind of disappointing in terms of their character journeys throughout the film when they tried to do the serious emotional aspects. When it came to the comedy and them together, Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds have chemistry out the wazoo. It reminds me of like Kevin Hart and Dwayne Johnson. They have that in spades as well. They are amazing together as both of these characters, just like how the characters are in the comics. So it was like seeing the comic panels brought to life in a special way. The movie is funny, they are funny, and the action is so brutal. Shawn Levy does a really great job of choreographing this action. I will say some of the action scenes, while really well choreographed, brutal and things like that, it felt low stake because, you know, Wolverine is basically immortal, Deadpool is basically immortal, so it's kind of like I'm watching it, but it's like, okay, well, I don't really have any investment in the danger because they're just fighting the fight at that point. And even when it was characters who could die, I just didn't have any, it just didn't feel like anybody was gonna die basically in this film, right? Let's talk about the cameos, because that's the big thing. The really big hype for this film was that who's gonna appear. This is a multiverse movie. This is Deadpool entering the MCU while also interacting with the rest of the Fox characters, from the X-Men to other characters that are under Fox banner. While I thought that the cameos that were in this film, even some that I couldn't even predict, were awesome, and I had a really good time seeing them appear, after they appeared, the hype for me kind of died down a bit. Like, I was like, oh my god, it's so cool that so and so is in this movie. They brought this person back and brought this person back, and this person is this person, and this is an inside joke and all this other stuff. It was really, really cool to see. But after that, unlike No Way Home, right? I feel like both those movies have similar issues, but what No Way Home did, they brought in Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, and they elevated the story for Tom Holland's Spider-Man. I don't feel like the cameos here elevated the story for Deadpool or Wolverine. They were kind of just there to pop and bring nostalgia in the film and have people around and fill out what was going on. And I love nostalgia, right? I'm reviewing this movie in an N64 t-shirt. I love old stuff. I love when you can, remind my memory berries about those things. But I just wanted a little bit more from these characters, especially, and this was in the trailer, so this is not a spoiler. They released a trailer for this. Daphne Keene's X-23 comes back, right? And that's such a emotional character if you are a fan of Logan. And Logan's presence looms over this film a lot, and she didn't even need to really come back for what they did in the film with her. So I'll say, like, seeing the characters were cool. The actors that play these characters were really, really great. But what they did with the characters and the characterizations and the interactions felt a bit underwhelming. And for a movie that I thought was going to go balls to the walls, bonkers with all this stuff, Deadpool and all the different versions of Deadpool that they teased in the trailers, I felt like it was a lot more tamer than I expected. I felt like it was a lot more tamer with all the cameos that I thought we were going to get. And that's fine. But, you know, the movie doesn't owe me all that stuff. It didn't promise me in the trailers that we're going to have 17 million different people come together. But from what we got, it felt underwhelming. So the story and plot, the further away I got from the theater off that high, because it was so much fun and so thrilling, the more I got away from the movie, the more I was like, the plot doesn't make any sense. And that's like the big part, right? And I think that if you don't care and you just came here to laugh and you came here to see some action and enjoy Hugh Jackman in the suit and see these characters interact with each other, it's not going to matter for you. You're going to have a blast. You're going to love this film. It's going to be the best film of the year for you. 10 out of 10, right? But for me personally, I want the nostalgia berries. I want the jokes. I want the action. But I want a plot that makes sense, has some impact on the greater MCU. If it feels like it's going to be this big film, find a way for Deadpool and Wolverine both to have character arcs that make sense. And unfortunately, I feel like the movie didn't do that. The focus was on to make you laugh and turn your brain off in a way of like Fast and Furious and Meg. And that's like the best comparison I can give this film. It felt like more like a Fast and Furious and a Meg film where a bunch of stars are in it and they're doing things and the things don't fully connect. This person comes out of nowhere, this person comes out of nowhere. Things are like barren wasteland. There's no detailed texture to anything. In terms of filmmaking, it's not a good film, but it's such a fun time. I am a bit disappointed with the film. Like I said in the thumbnail, I liked it, but I didn't love the film. It doesn't seem like something I want to go run and rewatch right away, especially not by myself, but it's something that I will check out eventually. And I think the biggest issue as well, other than all those things, is that, you know, the Emma Corrin, who plays Cassandra Nova, the villain in this movie, she gives a great performance. Her powers visually are some of the best things I've seen. I've never seen powers visualized like that. I thought that was really cool. But as a villain, she feels half-baked. It feels like a phase 1, phase 2 problem where a lot of villains weren't really fleshed out and half-baked, and a lot of their motivations didn't get really fleshed out, so you didn't really care. And that's kind of what they did here. There was a lot of stuff here I felt like I just didn't care about emotionally, and it was just glitz and glamour and colorful and popping. And I do wonder, for people who are not keeping up with everything after Endgame, if they're going to be able to understand what's going on. There's references to TV shows. There a lot, the whole big chunk of the movie is apart from a TV show that happened in the MCU. If you only watch movies, are you going to understand these references? So I do wonder how the casual audience that's not tapped into everything, because I watch everything, is going to feel about the film. But personally, for me, who's tapped into everything, I think this was a solid love letter to the Fox universe. I think that was to the forefront of the film, and I think it was a decent Deadpool movie, not a great Wolverine movie at all, and I don't think it was a really good MCU movie at all, but still a fun time, and I think everyone's gonna have a blast in the theaters. So with that said, I'm gonna give Deadpool and Wolverine a C+. Did you like it? Did you hate it? What would you rate Deadpool and Wolverine yourself? Did you think this was your favorite movie of the year? Did you think it was absolute garbage? Do you think it was just okay? Let me know how you feel in the comments down below. I feel like most people love this film. If you like my review, hit that like button, and you want to join the Zach Attack Nation, attack that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you can be notified of my reviews, reactions, live discussions, and much, much more. You can watch more of my content right now.